Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Dean's Hobby Stop in Owasso, Michigan. Dean's has one of the Midwest's largest selections of used kits at great prices. They also feature new kits and supplies as well. Call Dean's to get their mail order list featuring hundreds of vintage kits, or check their website for great deals on both new and classic models. This review covers the 34 Ford Highboy. It's a 125 scale kit from Revell, number 85-1911. Now, the 34 Ford was a very popular car to build into street rods. But most of the street rods that you see nowadays are really fiberglass replicas, as this model appears to be. Now, this type of body style is called a Highboy, where the body is still mounted on top of the frame, but the fenders and running boards have been removed. The original issue of this kit appears to be around '99, and it has been reissued several times with different fender options and wheels and different decals. Now, in this kit there's 31 parts molded in color, and it's a skill level 1 snap kit, so it's really easy for a young child or a novice to build. It also has chrome parts, some black pieces, and some tan and clear ones. And it can be assembled without painting. The finish is nicely smooth and shiny, and the tires are hollow vinyl with good tread and sidewalls. Now, when you're done, this kit measures about 5.5 inches long, 2.5 inches wide, and 2.25 inches high. And look, I hear something. That's Newt. He's the program director, tapping on the divider, and he's got a question about this one. What's your question there, Newt?
This car looks great, but there are no door handles, so how do you get in it?
Well, that's a good question, Newt. But on these cars, they leave the windows down, and they just reach inside and grab the handle to open the door.
Well, what happens if it rains?
You just jump in, roll up the windows, and drive back to the garage. And now, here are the contents of the kit. As you can see, there's very few pieces, and there's a couple of small screws that you can see there, and they are used to mate the body to the chassis, so there's really no gluing necessary. Now, some of the mods we're going to make here will do to show you after the original out-of-the-box build. That will help you add some realism to what's typically seen in a 34 street rod. Now, the body and the headlights, they're a little bit too high as designed, and the external gas tank is removed because that's not usually correct for a 34 Highboy. So please remember to use caution and follow safety and use guidelines with any of the products that you see or hear that are used in the review. Here are the decals for the kit, and as you can see, they're very colorful, but these are not water slide decals. These are peel and stick type stickers, but they're still very nice, and although some of them are a little too large for actually putting on the model. Construction begins by pushing the glass up inside the roof area, and it should just stay in position up there. And once again, we'll be just demonstrating the out-of-the-box build, which is pretty straightforward. So the door panels then get slid into place on the sides of the interior and just snapped into position. Now we can get the front seat and shifter, well, the only seat and shifter, and put those into position. And you may need to trim off a little bit of the sprue attachment points, but that's about it. So snap these into position. Now we'll work on the dash and the steering column. There are some decals for the dash, and so go ahead and locate those and put them into position. And then you can go ahead and snap the column onto the boss there and into position as well, and add that to the interior. And that's about it. Your interior is complete. And you can turn the body upside down and go ahead and push the interior bucket into position in the body. I'll look for the locating bosses and receiving holes on the front suspension, and go ahead and snap those into position on the underside of the chassis. The radius rod you see here can then be added to the axles, and then you can press them into the sides of the chassis there where they attach. And now you can work on the wheel assemblies, just to go ahead and snap or get the wheels off of the sprues, and you may need to trim those attachment points, and we'll be pressing those into the tires. And now get one of the larger tires, those are the ones in the rear, and you can push that into one of the axles, the metal axles, and slide that through the rear differential axle, and then squeeze the other tire on the other side. And then simply repeat the process for the front end, and those smaller tires will be installed up there. And now you can snap the upper part of the body assembly there onto the chassis, actually the body pan with the bumperettes on it there, and you can see those in front, and put those two parts together. They just snap in. Now slide the grill into the front end. Next we'll add the chassis to the floor pan there underneath. Make sure that the front is in the front and the rears are in the back, and then you're going to use two small screws to locate about the middle on the bottom of the chassis there to the upper body. It doesn't come with a screwdriver in this kit, so you'll have to look for a small Phillips. Now just put the headlights into the bezels, the buckets there, and then snap those into position on the fenders, and you're completed with the assembly of this kit. Add the decals as desired, and you can be finished. And this is a really nice kit to help youngsters or the novice builder get started with how to build a model. And so now we'll begin the modifications to make it look like much more like a 34 Highboy in the modern era with the fiberglass body. And just as easily as it snaps together, well, you can basically take it back apart. So we're going to do that, and then we'll show you how to modify the parts. I'm going to start by removing the fuel tank from the chassis. And now we're going to remove the upper part of the fuel tank there from the back end of the floor pan with the hobby saw. And of course you could use just your nippers for the lower part, but hobby saw will cut this off nice and clean. You may need to clean it up yet with some sandpaper sticks. And now we can use the same a jeweler's saw or a hobby blade there saw type to remove the headlight buckets. They need to be cut off so that we can modify their height. And next we're going to remove a little wedge of material here from the upper body at the very rear on the underside there inside the wheel well, as you can see as indicated by the white arrow. And also in the front you can see some lines here that indicate where parts are going to need to be removed. Some pieces of the frame just behind the tips of the frame horns there to allow the suspension to be a little bit lower. And now we're going to do a little trickery here on the modified build. The metal front axle is not used, and that would be enough to clean up that front end. Now the wheels, however, will then need to be glued directly to the chrome drop axle after scraping the chrome off from the glue joints on the spindles. And the headlights are glued behind the upper shock mounts after scraping the chrome plating from both surfaces there. Now I'm going to remove a line there that's on the hood. It's almost too fine to be the hood hinge. And a street rod like this would have a three-piece hood with the center hinge removed, and then the side curtains would just stay into position. So I also sanded the body and primed it and prepped it for paint. And there's no mold lines on the body really to remove. And I painted it with a 50-50 mix of paint called One Shot, that's the brand, Emerald Green, that's L142, and One Shot Metallic Gold, that's L109. I actually like the interior color as a match for the green, and so I left it as is. I did some detailing then with a chrome pen on the steering wheel and the inner door handles, and applied the decals for the dash and the door panels just like in the regular kit build. I used the tan color L117 from One Shot to paint the headliner to match the interior. The flat tab that is used to locate the grill in front there needs to be trimmed off a little bit, so cut some material off of there, or you can just use nippers and snip it off in order for the the suspension to work in the front end, because they interfere with each other now. So then just scrape the paint and chrome off of the grill there and glue it into position. Well, you won't have too many parts left over, and we actually added some pieces here from the modified build and used the decals for the dash, but this is about all that's left. It's a single purpose kit, but it works out just right. Now you simply reassemble the bottom half to the top half, and you can add a little blackening to that grill, and look what you got. A really great looking, properly stanced 34 Ford Highboy. And you'd be proud to drive this around, but you'd also be proud to put one of these together and make just a few simple modifications to a snap kit and put it on your shelf. After all, the little detailing underneath like this, and the nice looking clean finish on top, you've got yourself a head turner. So if I were you, I'd buy one and put it on my shelf. Well, we hope you like this premium step-by-step model kit review. And so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can find us on Facebook or our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks.